How is it going, everybody? Sean Ross here, and welcome back, guys, to my review for My Hero Academia manga chapter 197, which was entitled Chaotic Quark Stravaganza. And with this latest chapter, we come to the conclusion of the first matchup, and we come to see that Class A plus Shinso have won and come out on top against Class B. Now, I don't think that's surprising to anyone. I think we all expected Class A to win this first match. But moving forward into the next couple matches, it's going to be rather interesting to see which team is going to come out on top, because some of us, I think, want Class B to win a few of these matches. We just don't want Class A to bulldoze their way through all 5 matches and just utterly destroy Class B. We're expecting Class B to win a few, but we will cross that bridge once we get to it. For right now, I just want to focus in on this chapter, because what this chapter really did demonstrate to me was that if Class A is prepared and they have a plan and they use each individual person on the team's strengths within this situation, they are able to come out on top. Plus, having experience is a big help within these types of situations, as we come to see with Sue, Kaminari, and with Shinso, because Sue is able to read the situation, come up with a plan, and use her frog abilities to mask the scent of each person on her team. And then we come to see with Kaminari, he realizes that Class B is viewing him as the biggest threat on Class A, so he rushes in as a distraction for Sue and Shinso to get into place. And then we have Shinso being used very tactically, which I love the fact that they ended up doing this, to where Shinso was able to destroy the communication for Class B, and I think that this was the integral piece of what led to Class B's demise. Communication is an integral part of this exercise, because if you are unable to communicate your thoughts or your strategies to your teammates, to your partners, you are going to be at a huge disadvantage going up against your opponents, and your opponent just so happens to have the ability to take that integral piece away from you. As it is demonstrated within this chapter, once Shinso is lurking in the shadows and he ends up brainwashing Aibara, this ends up leading Rin and Shishida to start to panic and work on their own. They stop communicating with one another, and this is the one main thing that basically leads to their downfall. This allows Sue to come in and take out Rin, and then Shishida, blinded by taking out Shinso, is distracted long enough for Sue to also knock Rin into Shishida and take them both out. So Horikoshi being able to display to us how integral communication is in a team-on-team exercise is really cool to see, but also this goes to show that if you use Shinso very strategically and very tactically, sure, he might be seen as a handicap, but he's also a huge strength for a team if they use him correctly. But with all that being said, let's go back to the beginning of this chapter, where I will go over all of the references and small details that I was able to pick up on after rereading the Viz translation of this week's latest chapter. So chapter 197 picks up where we get to see all the other students watching this match unfold, but a majority of Class B doesn't understand when they heard Shishida say, "We've got 3 Asuis heading our way." They know Sue does not have a cloning quirk, so they don't understand what is going on, but there are 2 students that know perfectly well what is currently going on during this match, and that is Deku and Mineta. And I love the fact that we get to see this from their point of view, because this calls back to the USJ, where they learned all about Sue's abilities and what her frog quirk is able to do, which includes being able to secrete a poisonous fluid or mucus from her body. And Deku and Mineta are able to pick up on the fact that she coated Shinso and Kaminari with this liquid in order to disguise themselves to hide them from Shishida's enhanced sense of smell. I love that Horikoshi included this in here, but a very small detail that I noticed about Mineta is from the balls on his head. He's got a grape stem sticking out of one of his balls, which this is most likely the string or the new weapon that he has been using since the provisional license exam, when he kind of connects the balls with a string, and for a lack of better term, he basically creates an anal bead whip, to where he just whips it around and he's able to catch and stick anything to his whip of balls. And the more I talk about this, the more perverted it actually sounds. But it's just really nice to see that Mineta is slowly developing more and more into the grape-like hero he is meant to be in the future. But moving away from Deku and Mineta, we come to see Denki, Shinso, and Sue really zooming their way over towards Class B, coming up with a plan. They are going to go after Shishida first because he is the powerhouse, the muscle of Class B, but then they soon run into just a field, just covered in Aibara's vines. And this is where we kind of reach the section of a lot of references towards Class B's hero names, but also some of Aibara's special moves as well. So starting with Aibara's character, we first come to learn that she's kind of changed her hero name. It's gone from Maria to Vine. Kind of a downgrade in just originality, and I'm not sure if this is the case, like Horikoshi forgot that Aibara's hero name was Maria, or if she actually did change her hero name, but I would say it fits rather well. It describes her to a T, but I think I would have preferred Maria as her name rather than Vine. But then we also get 3 names for her special moves, which are Via Dolorosa, Crucifixion, and Faith's Shield. Now, the only one with real significance and reference is the move called Via Dolorosa, which is a reference to the walk that Jesus did towards his crucifixion. It's the path that he walked, and this just really falls in line to Aibara's aesthetic as a character, where she likes to reference a lot of biblical terms, and it's just the way that she talks as well to Shishida and to Rin throughout this exercise. Next up, we have Shishida, who has the hero name of Je vous donne, which is French and really fun to say. Je vous donne, je vous donne, je vous donne. I love getting to say that name, but this is honestly a really cool reference to the Beast of Gévaudan, which I initially had no idea what this was a reference to, but this actually ties in to the origins of the myth of werewolves. Gévaudan was a province and town in France back during the 17 and 1800s, where this led into the myth where 100 people were killed and slaughtered by a wolf dog with human-like features, and this is what led into the myth of werewolves, which I think just ties in very well with Shishida's aesthetic, his look, and his quirk, because he looks like a giant walking werewolf. He is a beast of a man, so Gévaudan as his hero name is a really nice fit. But then last for Class B, the hero names that we come to learn, we have Rin's hero name, which turns out to be Dragon Shroud, which ties in more into the overall look of his quirk in which that it gives him, because he is able to grow scales on his body, green scales if you guys see him in the anime, and it kind of gives him a dragon-like aesthetic to his appearance, and he's able to shoot out the scales and also use it as armor. So I like these reveals of the hero names. We have Vine, Gévaudan, and Dragon Shroud, and I think they fit rather well with their characters, their quirks, and their aesthetics. So moving forward from the references, this is the moment when Class B begins to realize that Kaminari hooked a tracker onto Shishida, and they can't really act upon that. As soon as they realize that that is there, Aibara lets them know that she has caught someone from Class A, and they're all hoping that it is not Kaminari. They do not want it to be Kaminari, and as soon as they reel that person in, ding, 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 they realize it is in fact Kaminari. But the strange thing about this is the fact that Kaminari wanted to be caught on purpose. This is all going according to Kaminari's plan, because he wanted to distract them by getting caught to allow Sue and Shinso to get into position. That way they can take out Class B. That right there, you don't really see it all too often from Kaminari, but he was actually kind of smart and was working for the team within this situation. And even before he's making all those poses and he's about to unleash 1.3 million volts, Aibara just begins to encase him in a gigantic circle of vines, and she puts up her faith shield, which is very similar to the shield that she put up back at the sports festival. And then it's at this moment, right before the vines are about to enclose upon Kaminari, he unleashes and shoots out an electrical shock towards the pointer on Shishida. And I did not notice this on my first read through, and this was actually really cool to see the quick thinking by Rin, to where he realized that the pointer was on Shishida. He ended up shooting a whole bunch of his scales at the pointer, knocking it off of Shishida and allowing it at that exact moment as it's in the air to get shocked by the electricity. If he was a moment or two off, Shishida would have been in for one hell of a shock. And I can't believe I missed that on my first read through, but just getting to see that after rereading that, I was like, wow, that right there was really nice detail, but just goes to show the quick thinking of Rin on Class B side. So now that Aibara has trapped Kaminari within her crucifixion vines, someone calls out to her by saying, hey, more of Class A is coming, get those vines prepared. She ends up responding to that voice thinking it's one of her teammates, but she gets caught within the brainwashing. Shinso was using Rin's voice to trick Aibara. Rin turns around saying, wait a minute, that wasn't me talking to you just now, and we just see Shinso hiding in the distance, away from the front lines, using the echo of the environment to hide his exact location. This right here is how you use Shinso strategically and tactically. You keep him out of sight, allow him to creep within the shadows, and use him to destroy your opponents from the inside by tricking them into thinking they are communicating with their teammates. And it's at this exact moment you begin to see the communication of Class B just take a downward spiral. We just see our Gévaudan rushing in on Shinso's location as he is pointing to the right, trying to communicate something to Rin, but Rin is too confused at what he is trying to tell him to do. Shishida has ceased all verbal communication, and this is hindering their team's success, and most likely hindering them from winning this exercise, as we see later on, because Rin cannot make out if he's saying, go in that direction, is Su approaching from that direction. All Rin wants him to do is tell him what he needs to do, but Shishida is just too fixated on going after Shinso. So Rin moves on to plan B and decides to wake Aibara from the brainwashing, and as soon as he starts to cut away at the vines, Froppy swoops right in and steals Aibara away, getting her out of range, and we see Rin shooting his scales off at Froppy as she begins to hop away, but within the Viz translation, it also states that she also faded away. I did not pick this up on my first read-through that Su was activating her camouflage within this moment, and this makes a lot of sense as to why Rin wanted Shishida to come back so badly, why he was panicking. He had no idea where Su went within that moment, and Rin has realized their communication has gone down the drain, and as he is thinking that, he just gets bombarded from above with this drop kick from the heavens, where Froppy just unleashes the ultimate Selkie move, going back to the internship episode. Selkie would be proud, and it's one of my favorite panels from this latest chapter, just seeing Su unleash this drop kick on Rin, ends up knocking Rin out. We have Subaraba in a cage, Aibara has been brainwashed, and basically Rin has been immobilized, and all that's left to deal with is our Gévaudan, Shishida. And Shishida ends up finding Shinso, but these panels are awesome to look at as well, but this is where we get to see Shinso finally utilize the Aizawa scarf, and he uses it to pull the piping down on Shishida, and Shishida's down, but he is not out. He slowly begins to get back up, but then in the distance, we hear Rin coming in hot, screaming, down, Apaka Beast. And Shishida's like, oh, you're not gonna get me this time, but then in his mind, he's like, wait a minute, Apaka Beast. That's when he realized that was Rin incoming. Rin hits him hard, square in the back, ends up knocking both of them out, and this is when we basically have the definitive conclusion of the first match, with Class A defeating Class A. So with a little help from a brainwashed Aibara, they end up locking away all of the members of Class B within the Principal Nezu prison, and Su ends up talking with Shinso, letting him know, you are not lagging behind at all. You are quite powerful, and you were great during this exercise. You are going to be a great hero one day. But Shinso is a man who is really hard on himself, and he's like, no, I still have a long ways to go. I am still relying on others to get by. In order to go pro, I need to rely on my strengths alone, and I can agree to that to some extent. He is great for a hero that lurks in the shadows, but I think for him, he wants to work on his hand-to-hand skills to where he can be a person that lurks in the shadows, but also can go to the front lines and defeat some villains hand-to-hand style, which I think would be very cool in the future of my hero. But this just has me very excited to see the developments that we will be getting with Shinso's character. I love what we got to see with him during this first exercise, and I am really looking forward to seeing how Shinso is going to play out working alongside Class B in the 5th and final match against Mineta, Ashido, Ochiko, and Deku. I am very much looking forward to that match. Cannot wait for it. But to end off this chapter, we just see and hear Vlad King come over the loudspeaker rather angrily and disappointed and says, ugh, match 1 goes to Class A and Shinso, and that is the end of the chapter. We are going to be moving into match number 2 next chapter with 198, but I am very curious, guys. Like, I really want to know, who do you guys have winning the next match with Momo's team going up against Kendo's team? Because I feel rather mixed. I like all of the members of Class A. We have Tokoyami, we have Toru, we have Momo, and Aoyama. But then with Kendo's team, I don't really know a lot of them. I know we have the Mushroom Girl. I know we have, I think, the Jet Black guy with the black quirk, and then also the Comic guy. I think the Comic guy is also on that team. So how is he going to use his quirk? I have no idea. I would love for Class B to come out on top, but I'm also rather biased and would just love to see Class A win. I don't know who's going to win, guys, but I am very much looking forward to the start of match number 2 with next chapter. I cannot wait. So with that, guys, that right there is my review for chapter 197. But now I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on this week's latest chapter. What were your positives? What were your negatives? And did you guys miss any of the references and small details on your first read-through? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you guys want to talk more about My Hero Academia outside of YouTube, feel free to follow me on Twitter, guys. A link to my Twitter account can be found in the description down below. Feel free to like and subscribe and join the gang, talking about My Hero Academia and just enjoying the series that we love. But yeah, that's going to do it for me here, guys. So until next week when we have chapter 198 for My Hero Academia, I'll talk to you guys next time. But remember, go beyond plus ultra.